It's really great to be here. This is the season when traditionally we talk about the ancestors, and so that is what I would like to talk to you about today. We all have ancestors, starting with those that my friend and this church's friend, William Stewart, used to call the beloved dead. Those are people we knew in life, maybe parents, grandparents, friends. And then there's the people we know about but never met, maybe great-great-grandparents. And then working back through the named and the unnamed and the known and the unknown, all the way back to humanity's origins in Africa. Before humanity dispersed over the rest of the planet, we lived in Africa for more than half of our history as human beings. So those African ancestors from before we dispersed are the ones that we all share, and they account for more than half of our history. So those are the ones that I like to call on first when I'm working by myself, but especially when I work with groups, because we know we all share those ancestors. So I would like to thank them in particular now for giving us all the chance to be here. Between here and Africa are many paths, winding through many different places and cultures. Each of us has a slightly different path, but most all cultures have some ways of honoring the ancestors. This is technically not ancestor worship, as it's often called. It's actually veneration, ancestor veneration. We honor our ancestors because without them, we would not have a chance to be here having this life here and now. It's a miraculous opportunity that comes to us through them. So this is the time of year, as I said, for acknowledging that among many cultures, including my own Celtic and Northern European roots. We say that the veil between the worlds is thin at this time, and we can feel the influence of the dead in a way that is strongest at this time of year. And as we watch the trees and the plants around us become as if dead, waiting for their spring rebirth as they go into their roots, that is an indication of what we're honoring at this time of year. And we do this in many ways. Some are prayerful and worshipful, others are playful and very ancient. We may build altars, visit graves, leave gifts. In Northern Europe and Britain, there are very, very ancient traditions involving illuminated vegetables, all the way back to the Neolithic. And before they had pumpkins, which of course came from the Americas, they used turnips and sugar beets and mangel wurzels and things like that, and they would carve faces in them and put a candle, and before that a coal inside to light them up. So that practice is all the way back to the Stone Age in certain places. And whatever your traditions are, basically we honor the ancestors by sharing our lives with them. So we set out their pictures, we cook their favorite foods, we make offerings of smoke and fire and liquids and fruit and flowers, especially things with familiar, evocative smells. A lot of people believe that when you put out food, the ancestors eat the smells. So one of the dishes from my heritage in Wales to this day, they make a very ancient dish for this holiday. It's called stwmp na rw, which is mash of 9 sorts. And today it's usually made with potatoes, turnips, parsnips, salsify, leeks, definitely leeks. And then sometimes peas or beans are added, and these are all cooked until soft, coarsely mashed, thinned with a little cream, and baked with a whole bunch of cheese on top. It's delicious. Such traditions change over time. For example, potatoes, also from the New World, were not always a part of stwmp na rw. But the roots and the flavors and the stories that go with them have a continuous nature that is nourishing to all who partake of them. So all of that is great. Our heritage can be very nourishing in a context like the making of stwmp na rw. But what about toxic traditions? It takes all kinds to make a world, and we have all kinds amongst our ancestors. I have ancestors who were proud to be warmongers, enslavers, Indian killers, and witch burners. While I recognize and appreciate their role in making it possible for me to exist, I cannot honor them. And part of my job in being alive is to do everything in my power to stop the transmission and the perpetuation of those kinds of traditions. In grappling with this issue, I have found the most helpful teachings to be the work and words of American Black ancestor venerators, such as my teacher, Yeye Tesh, Zora Neale Hurston, Alice Walker, and others, who trace their descent from enslaved women and white rapists. They can see this in the mirror, and they can feel it in their bones. And the work they've done on this has been very helpful to me in dealing with my less savory ancestors as well. There are effective techniques for severing your relationship with ancestors who are too toxic and offensive if you find that necessary. But in general, the best revenge is to live in vivid contradiction to what they stood for. For example, isn't it ironic that my witch-burning ancestors gave rise to a descendant like me? My anger, pain, and embarrassment about being descended from people like them has been translated into outspokenness and action. If not for them, I might still be privately practicing somewhere in my broom closet. Instead, I preach like them. The ties may be as inescapable, but they work both ways. It is up to us, the living, to decide which traditions get passed and which traditions get counteracted. That's our responsibility to our ancestors. Furthermore, it's important to recognize that it's not necessary to be a biological parent to be an ancestor. Heritage goes far beyond DNA and blood relations. Ideas have ancestors too. When we spend a lot of time working on something, we attract the energies having to do with that thing. In this way, we are able to build connections through affinity, similar to when we make friends or fall in love, and add to our living communities more than just the people to whom we are blood related. The same is true in the world of the ancestors. And some of the most powerful ancestral connections are with the people in the past who created the art, the music, the literature that informs us and opens our hearts today. So you have some choice about which ancestral influences you want to take on in that way. I'll close with a few observations from my personal experience. I have found that the ancestors are they like spontaneous creativity. They are pleased by human joy and by justice. A lot of people believe that they are often troubled by the injustice that they were part of, and they are very pleased when they see us setting things right. They have a powerful sense of humor, and as with anything else in the spiritual world, the most important thing ends up being love. So once again, I would like to thank all of our ancestors for giving us a chance to be alive, to do things that would make them proud or make them able to be at peace because the things that they did not get right, maybe we can change. So I find that my ancestors give me a lot of courage, both in support and in opposition, depending on which group we're talking about. And so I encourage you to investigate this in your own heritage traditions, especially at this time of year. And if you have any questions about these issues, you can always talk to me. Thank you.